Welcome back to the channel. We've got a look at the recent Heritage auctions, vintage Star Wars figures, and I'm sorry, man, but Heritage is just a real pain in the butt. They make it as difficult as possible for me to give them my money. Make the auction process straightforward and not so confusing. Apparently, all of these items were online only, and if you couldn't bid towards the end of it, unless you had already bid earlier in the session. So for these items, I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait till the auction goes live. They have like the online portion and then they move over to the live portion typically. But for whatever reason, they made this auction online only. And if you didn't bid when the auction clock ended, if you hadn't bid at all, you couldn't participate in the after hours. And it's a shame on me because I didn't read that in the close notes, but they all the auctions look the same. So I just figured it was like every other auction that Heritage has run, where they go live and you could be there live and bid on it live, and then the item would close. Well, it didn't work that way for this auction. So there were a number of items that I was leaning on bidding on 2 of them. And I would have bid on them even after these closed prices that I show you. But the bottom line is, don't make it so difficult to bid on these items. Hakes is straightforward, right? You got the auction, they end at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever, and then you got 20 minutes to make your bid. And if somebody bids during that 20-minute increment, the 20 minutes starts over again. We've all been there on Hakes. Heritage, I don't know whether they're going to go live or whether it's online only or what the rules are. They just changed the rules. So I do want to show you the listings, though, because there were some beautiful 12-backs that sold. First is a 12-back A Luke Farm Boy clear blister, no price sticker, unpunched. That one sold for $57.50. And, all of the 12-backs kind of ended in where I expected them to. This was a 12-back A Leia punched example, AFA 80, sold for $3,000. And again, I don't follow these particularly closely, but I wanted to at least show them. This was a small head Han 12A AFA 75. It had some wear around the, near the hang tab, but it was unpunched, and it got the overall 75. That one sold for $13.75, which seems like a pretty fair deal there for the small head Han. A 12-back A Vader AFA 75. Again, no price sticker, unpunched, clear blister. That one sold for $14.37. Pretty good bid on that one. Pretty good price on that one for a 12-back A. Chewbacca, this one was a white figure stand, AFA 75 12-back A. That one sold for $22.50. So I don't know if there was any of these that came in high. I mean, I thought they were all kind of in line. The C-3PO, maybe you could argue, was a little high, but I'm going to show you that in a second. This is the 12-back A AFA 75 Ben Kenobi, and this one was the gray hair version. And that one sold for $24.37.50. $24.37.50 for a punched example of the 12-back A Ben Kenobi. The Sand People was a 12A AFA 85 that sold for big money, obviously. No staining on the cape that I could see. It's got kind of the light brown motif to the paint apps. And, it's probably not the light brown, but it looks the light brown to me relative to some of the other examples I've seen. $38.75, big number on that one, but it was an AFA 85. This is a 12A C-3PO. And, you 12-bag experts can chime in, but 12A, it was an AFA 85. It was an AFA 85. It was punched, though. And the final price on that was $38.75. So a little higher for the C-3PO, although it was a very clean-looking example, as all of these really were. This one was a 75 plus 12-back A R2-D2. Unpunched, no price sticker for $15.62. We've seen some 12-back C's approach this kind of number. Maybe like AFA 80 type thing. But, this was a 75 plus, so right below that, and it was a 12A. And I think, my personal opinion is that a lot of these prices would have been higher if they had made it more kind of broadcast. That, hey, we're not doing the live auction afterwards. It's only, the auction goes until 7 p.m., which 7 p.m. Central Time last night. And if you haven't bid, there's no, there's no like live bidding. It's all extended. There's like a 30-minute extension. If anyone bids during that extended time period online, then then the auction will extend. But if you hadn't bid leading up to that timeline, that deadline price, or that deadline time, you could not bid. At least I couldn't. I mean, I had mine open. I was like, where do I go to bid? And, you know, it's just so confusing. To me, it makes no sense. I don't know why they decided to make this particular auction different than every other auction that I've been tracking for the last 6 months. This was a 12-back B AFA 80 plus Stormtrooper. The figure was really white, no discoloration that I could see there. Unpunched, no price sticker, $1,500. Probably about market. You know, that seems about right to me. This is one of the other ones I was considering bidding on, and I probably would have bid on it. You know, even at this price point, these prices are after the buyer's premium. Remember that. It's before taxes, so for me, at about 10%. But this was an AFA 85 R5D4 21 back C. And so it's got the secret Star Wars action figure offer, and that's one I would like to pick up, either on a 20 or 21 back. And you know, to me, this was very interesting that it stayed at 1031. That's after the buyer's premium. So I would have gone a little bit higher. I probably would have been good up to about $1,200 after the buyer's premium. So there was certainly some room for it there, and that would have been a nice addition to my R5D4 collection, because I would like to get that R5D4 with either on the ESB or the Star Wars 21 back, just something with that secret Star Wars offer. I would like to get one with the Boba Fett offer as well. So those are two I don't have. I've just got two 21As. But it was not meant to be, you know, for whatever reason. There was some die cast. The only die cast I included as part of this group is this TIE Bomber, because that is a tough one to find, and we know how expensive that is. It had the AFA case on it, but it doesn't mention the grade. So I don't know if it was, let's see. It's encased in acrylic, but it does not mention that it was graded. So I'm assuming that for some reason this one was precluded from grading, whether it's ink touch-up or maybe it was retaped, so it didn't qualify for qualified grading. I don't know. It's still sold for $19.37, which for a mint on card, it looks like it's still sealed and all that. It maybe just had some ink touch-up or something, and you know, got the acrylic case from AFA, but no grade from what I can tell there. So anyway, $19.37 for the very difficult to find TIE Bomber. There was also a mint on card X-Wing, as well as a non-encased, non-graded die-cast Imperial Cruiser that both sold for reasonable prices. But I at least wanted to show you the die-cast Bomber that sold for $19.37. That's, you know, obviously a lot less than what it would have gone for if it received a grade, but still, nevertheless, a very nice item. Some ESB card backs. This was the 31 back B AFA 75 plus Luke with the walking photo, clear blister, punched example for $968.75. Again, after the buyer's premium, that's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good price there. You know, I would have guessed probably a little over $1,000. It did have some sticker residue below the name pill, right above the actual action figure. So not perfect, but $968 is about as budget friendly as you're going to get for a 75 plus grade. Leia in her Bespin gown. This was the 31B graded AFA 75. That one sold for $612.50, maybe a little high. I think we've seen some better prices on eBay than what this one sold for $612.50. This I thought was a really good deal. This was the transition card 21 back ESB for Hammerhead, unpunched, no price sticker for $537.50. So this is another one that I would have certainly bid on. I would have bid that one up at least another couple $100. So it's an AFA 80. It did have the card score of 75, which probably held it back a little bit, but it's the tougher to find transition 21 back for the ESB Bosk offer. So I thought that was a really good deal at $537.50. For me, that's a price I'd pay in a heartbeat. The other one I was definitely willing to bid on, not much higher though, was this one. This was the AFA 85 Revenge of the Jedi proof card for the Star Destroyer Commander, or Death Squad Commander, if you want to talk dirty to me. But, you know, I just picked up the Leia Bespin in the last Hakes auction that was an AFA 85, and I paid around $1,700, $1,750. So this one sold after the buyer's premium at $1,562. So once you factor in taxes, which you'd have to pay on Heritage, you're getting towards that number for what I would argue is a lesser character than Leia Bespin, but it's also a first 12 figure on this Revenge of the Jedi proof card. So, you know, I could see paying maybe a little bit more, but maybe not much more. But that's, it was basically sold at market value, if you ask me. That's kind of the market value to me. And where I was targeting about $1,500, $1,600. So I wouldn't have had much room there on that one. Han Solo, this was on the Return of the Jedi 65 back A, yellowed 80 plus. So it did have some yellowing to the blister, but that one sold at $537.50, which not a terrible deal there. Given that if it had been clear blister, you could probably close to double, maybe $800-900, somewhere in that ballpark. Here was another good deal. I thought this was the 65 back A Boba Fett, and it was labeled as a yellowed blister, but I think that the blister itself, if it had yellowing, it was very minor. I'm guessing it was had to do with the inner tray on this Boba Fett. To me, it looks like, so you can see a little bit of yellowing at the bottom of the blister there. It's very faint, though. I mean, this is very, very minor. And that was a beautiful looking example, if you ask me. And this one was the Taiwan Boba Fett inside the blister. So 65 back A, Taiwan Boba Fett, AFA 75 plus with just mild yellowing. That's tempting. That would have been tempting. It sold at $1,750 with the buyer's premium. I could see going a little higher than that. That one seems a little underpriced. It did have a fairly pronounced crease on the bottom left-hand corner that you can see right there. So that detracts a little bit from it. But I think all in all, given the fact that the blister is as close to clear as you're going to get without it being clear and paying astronomical prices, and the fact that it's a Taiwan, man, $1,750, it feels like a really good deal to me. That's maybe $1,900, $1,950 after taxes and shipping. That's the price I'd pay. That's a pretty good deal, if you ask me. Some others, we had a Ben Kenobi, and this one was the 65A, AFA 85 clear blister on this one. It was punched with a price sticker. $575 was the final sales price. Very good deal. Very fair deal, at least. I don't think it was a steal, but I thought that was a pretty good deal. This was a really good deal as well. This was the molded face Luke Jedi. Now, it wasn't mentioned in the title of the auction. It certainly was shown on the actual AFA label, but this is a 65A molded face Luke, AFA 85 with a 75 subscore for the card. But, it's tough to find that molded face Luke mint on card, and that to me seems like a really good deal at $412.50. That's borderline stealing it, if you ask me. I would have guessed 700-ish plus for a molded face Luke. Great deal on that one. Someone got a good deal. Now, it wasn't perfect. Again, it did have some sticker residue in the upper right hand corner, but again, it's a very rare Luke action figure variant that you're getting mint on card for basically the price of a standard 65 bag. So great buy, whoever got that one. The TIE Fighter pilot, this was a clear blister 65A, AFA 80, and it was unpunched for $537.50. That seems like a pretty fair deal. I just sold one of these that was yellowed blister for like $300, $350. I can't remember the exact number, but this for a clear blister, that's a pretty fair price at least. On the other end of the spectrum was the Squid Head. In all fairness, it was unpunched and it was a clear blister, AFA 80 plus. But it sold at $412.50, which seems high to me relative to what we've seen on eBay recently, where you can pick this up for around $320 max. Maybe $350, but that's pushing it. $412.50 seems like an overpay. It's admittedly a slight overpay, but it seems a little high. And then finally, we had a 65 back A Stormtrooper clear blister for, AFA 80 plus. That's a good deal. That's a pretty good deal at $600 for a clear blister. Partially unpunched. It looks like the punch is coming out a little bit, but no price sticker, clear blister. Tough to find that clear blister, and the figure still looks nice and clean for $600. Again, it's not a steal, but it's certainly probably maybe a couple $100 less than what I would have expected, especially on Heritage. So again, I'm kind of disgusted with how Heritage just changes the auction rules last second. Again, it's my own fault for not looking closely, but if you got to look at every single auction session closely to figure out what rules they're going to change next, in my opinion, they're doing it wrong. They need to make it straightforward and clear as to what they're doing and keep it consistent with every auction, just like Hakes does. So again, maybe that's unfair on my part, but that's how I feel about it, and I'm sticking by it. It is probably a good thing, quite honestly, because I don't really have any money I don't really want to spend any money right now, but there were definitely a few, like especially that 21 back C R5D4 and maybe that hammerhead that I thought went for below what I would have paid for them. So thank you as always for watching. Please leave me a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back soon.